invent something and you try to innovate in whatever sphere you have, whether that's day-to-day innovation if you're doing it for a market that does not have that, or you're going into a business that maybe has that concept but does not know. Another key point to add to this, in innovation, it does not matter who invented it or who thought about it. It matters who made it work. Again, I go back to Apple again because I love Steve Jobs, but he's not the inventor of the MP3 player. He did not invent it. Sony invented it a long time ago. Sony had a patent for it much before Apple even thought about it. In fact, Steve Jobs was fired at the time the MP3 players came out. He was no longer a part of Apple. He came back and understood how to make MP3 players work. Same thing, with you look at other technology companies. A lot of people say Bill Gates stole the Windows concept from IBM. He did not really steal it. He understood how to make it work and how to sell it. Something that IBM was unwilling to do at the time. So it does not matter who invented it. It matters who made it work. So as an entrepreneur, you have to figure out how to make it work, and then you have to balance out your day-to-day innovation, which is your normal solutions, problems, which your customers will tell you. It could be something simple as logistics, that this material is not getting there on time, or you're having problems delivery. Well, you can still innovate in that. You don't have to look for a standard solution. You can still innovate in that and figure out how to do it in a more interesting, unique way. And the other part of the day, which is going to be difficult for you once you get involved as being a day-to-day entrepreneur, is how do you take time out and think about something that no one really thinks about? How do you take time out and think about something that's completely unique, completely revolutionary, completely, as you say, out of this world? I think Einstein says it best. Einstein said, knowledge will never be as important as imagination because knowledge is limited. Imagination is limitless, So you can imagine whatever random stuff you imagine, and sometimes, people call it a lot of things. People call it meditation, people call it lots of names have been given to it. But that's essentially the innovation that's going to make you a real innovator, real entrepreneur, And it's the people who can do that, and persevere in doing that, So it's one thing to imagine and have a very nice dream and, think about something amazing, but it's another thing to be able to follow up on it and persevere and go through with it, And that's another thing, as part of being an entrepreneur, I think a lot of times people won't tell you, but I'll tell you a secret, about being an entrepreneur or dealing with a lot of entrepreneurs. Another company I run on the side, apart from the packaging, is a venture capitalist firm that me and a couple of my friends started while we were students in Boston. And we started this firm with the only 4 student-by-student venture capitalist company in the world. So we invest exclusively into student ideas out of MIT, Harvard, schools like Babson, that's where I went, and places like that. So I deal with a lot of entrepreneurs, not only in my day-to-day setting, but also a lot of student entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, very fresh ideas, very unique, people, but a lot of times very unstable also. And the instability is not only because they're young. There are a lot of mature, unstable entrepreneurs as well, because they're imaginary people, they're visionary people. They spend a lot of times in dreamland, which most people like, most practical people will think is useless, but they know how to make sense out of it. And I'm asking you to also try and tap into that dreamland with your own unique sense of, vision, or whatever you want to do in terms of innovation. But the most important skill set of an entrepreneur is not how smart he is, not how innovative he is, not how much money he has, how much cash he has, what his background is, how much money he can raise in the first round, how good he is in talking, how good he knows how to sell, how good looking he is, or whatever else it is. Whether he has a very good looking cousin who can get him in front of investors or something. That all that stuff is rubbish. The most important thing about an entrepreneur is the mindset. It's the ability to persevere. Because if you don't have the right brain, and that's not about being smart, it's not, people take intelligence. There are a lot of very intelligent people who spend a lot of time talking about all kinds of random stuff, and they'll be 50, 60 years old, never did a thing in their life, never even bothered going out there venturing, just spend all their time talking. That's not the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I'm talking about really persevering. So every entrepreneur has a breaking point. Whenever you will innovate in your life, you will try to innovate, you will try to build something, there will come in a point in your life where you're going to be like, I can't really do this. It's not possible for me to do this. This is not working. Every entrepreneur goes through that. And that is my biggest challenge as a venture capitalist, how to get those guys through that point, because I've invested in their company. I need them to come through. If they don't come through, I lose money. You know, so that's what you have to remember most of all. Every entrepreneur, as you know, an innovator, it's a very, very complex brain, and you have to really get through the psychology of being a good entrepreneur, which is to persevere. It's just to follow through with your idea. Follow through with whatever you believe in. Find a way to make it work. If you are completely impractical, you will go back to the drawing board and you'll start again, but you'll figure out how to make something else work. Maybe what you were trying to make work was not, the right solution for it. I'll give you another example. Viagra was invented originally for heart disease. No one really understood, how to make it work for, making lots of men and women happy later on in the day. But it was, someone had to go back to the drawing board and rethink the solution. So, that's what you have to do.